Okay, let's talk about the benefits in infrastructure software that we made. Okay, look, what are the benefits? I overlooked that portion. Okay, we're going to talk about the benefits. We talk about the benefits. Pipsqueak, look, I don't know. Okay, so look, Pipsqueak doesn't know what the benefits of the software, why we make the software, what's the point of the software that we're working on, right? Some of it's obviously for military use, right? Some of it's obviously military use, but there's other portions that are very useful for building infrastructure and building a country. Okay, building a country. Okay, so when you build the infrastructure, it benefits the whole country. Okay, when you build the infrastructure, it benefits the country. Look, you got better roads, better power grid, right? Better sewer system, better water system. That's beneficial. That's beneficial, right? So basically, the software is some of the first steps. Some of the first steps on where does one look for deals? Where does one build things? That's basically a lot of what the software is about. It's to help. It's to help make better decisions where structure could be improved, right? And to better utilize existing structure. That's what the software is actually about. That's helping build a country. Okay. So look, let's talk about. We're going to go through some of the sections. Okay. Look, space software. Look, it started as just taking some of the satellites because they were being annoying, and it ended up turning into taking them all. So look, we did work on taking them all. That's what it turned out to be. So look, Orange Crew operates all satellites. Okay, look, that there's operated by the International Space Crew. Okay, the International Space Crew. So it's worldwide operation. Okay, of satellites. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of satellites. Okay, look. Based off the fact that nobody knows where all the satellites are, that means there's definitely been accidents. There has definitely been accidents with the satellites. Okay, there's definitely look. You can't not know where much satellites are floating around in space and not have some crashing. That look, monkeys put satellites in space, but we don't think about them crashing into each other at all. Apparently, that's what the monkeys do. Okay, look. So now look, they're managed, okay, so they don't crash into each other better. That sounds wiser. That sounds wiser with expensive satellites, I would say. Okay, look. Okay, so with the international crew watching it, okay, look, it's going to lower the cost. It's going to lower the cost on watching the satellites, right? Because look, you don't need a bunch of independent crews watching the satellites. You have international crew watching the satellites. So from a business perspective, your cost lowered. You have less accidents, and you have better oversight of where that satellite is amongst the other ones. Okay. Now you also have Orange Crew. They're helping maintain the software side of the satellites because look, once you make such a big thing like that, okay, look, they got to maintain the software side of the satellites. Look, so some of those things you had problems with, or wasn't working right, or whatever the issue was. Look, on the software side, they will help you. So look, getting things working better in space, because once in space, it's there, and that's look, get it working best you can. Look, and the other part about this is, look, what's the point of this whole space thing? Okay, why are you talking about space in the first place? Look, space travel is worth pursuing because that's where all your cutting edge developments come from. Okay, so the best developments, some of the best developments made, that comes from when someone's working on their space stuff. Okay, that's where it comes from. So some of that good stuff that's like, ooh, this is a nice, like a lot of that started because someone's engineering and developing for space travel, okay, or space parts, and some of the subsequent designs came off of that, some of that engineering. Ship X mesh from the end, of course. And also, that's where. Look, part of it's already funded. We got the sped tax coming up. That's pretty sweet. Look, the speds like it. Okay, I like it. Everybody. Look, the space people like it. Everybody likes the sped tax that's coming up. So that's pretty sweet too, right? Everybody wins. So look, look. Okay, utilities. Okay, why we got the utility software? What's the point of that? Okay, look. You have power plants that like, look, this one only works. This one's only at 33% capacity. This one over here. Okay, this one over here is only at this one too much capacity, right? 90% capacity or something, right? So you can what the point of that is the power plant companies now can rebalance things and adjust their grid, right? They can adjust grids. Look, now you have more consistent performance for power, right? As a user, you say, look, now I've got more stable and consistent performance on power. Look, now it stays on more because look, better balancing throughout, right? And also helps decide where there can be improvements. Like, look, I didn't know all these power plants they were maxed out over here. I can actually get another power plant built. Look, now you're working on infrastructure again. They're helping with decision making, right? Look, so different power lines, different decision making. Okay, that's what some of that software is about. It's on the user side of things. It will only work to your benefit because they're building infrastructure, and we know that infrastructure helps build a country. Okay. So what's like, for example, what's your key differences between a wealthy country and a poor country? Infrastructure. That's one of the main differences, infrastructure. So look, another one we worked on is the people and geographical software. We're gonna map people issues. Okay, look, this is a grouping of people issues. What's the benefit of that? Why would you do that? Okay, look. The main reason of that is faster emergency response, much faster. Okay, there's now international crews watching when there's a problem. Okay, look, there's a problem over here. Look, now your response is much faster. International crews are watching. Okay, then they also know where it can help allocate resources, right? So look, there's a major flood. Look, now you have international crews watching that flood real time. They say, look, there's a problem over here. We can go help. Good real time. Like not like, oh, this was 6 hours ago. Like, look, you have crews watching real time. That's pretty good, right? That's much better coverage than what you had before. So look, the major flood, major issue. Yeah, they're watching and helping allocate resources, and at the other, like, things like NGO, okay, or emergency response, right? They can help allocate resources. Look, now the response is faster and more accurate, right? Because sometimes somebody brought stuff they didn't need or wasn't really sure. Look, now the communication there, the response will be faster. Look, that's improvements. Okay, that's improvements, especially if there's some sort of major disaster, and there often is throughout the world. Okay, that's just it just happens. Okay, especially with things changing, right? The disasters happen more frequently, right? So part of that other people mapping software is to improve healthcare access. Okay, part of that's it's mapping out hospitals and doctors' offices. Like, look, here's what they all are. That actually helps, you see, because basically we rank some of the hospitals, okay, as far as technological ability. So look, that helps in that. Say, look, I can build a little more hospital structure over here. This will be helpful over here, or I need to build another hospital in this other spot. And you know your problem areas throughout the world, right? You have more information. Say, look, this is a problem area over here. So look, that for an investor, that looks like, hey, there might be actually some opportunity over here to get things built. So it's about enabling. Looking around and finding potential investment spots for to look. We're going to build a structure here. Look, now you have more structure as a user. You say, look, there's a hospital available, or it's better hospital available than used to be available. There's improvement, right, from the user side. And I also think, shitbags. I also think that it's totally possible to do international healthcare, right? So like this would be the first step. Is like first you got to know where they all are. That's the very first step. It's like what is going on throughout the world as far as healthcare goes. So that's the first step. The first step. Now the other part that's pretty cool. Shitbags. Okay, the other part that's pretty cool is things like fire response, right? There's lots of fire stations already positioned, and with an overall global mapping of fire stations, now you can say, look, this is what this one covers, this is what this one covers. Now you can optimize your coverage amongst them. Look, now the response time is faster because look, they also know that this station was actually operating at a really high capacity, and this one was operating at low capacity, so we can adjust that, right? Now we can utilize all the resources better that we already had. So that's pretty good. So it's about optimizing the resources that are already available and helping making decisions where things can be improved, right? Where things can be improved. And that always, look, that benefits the user always when infrastructure is built, when there's more infrastructure in building a country, right? That benefits the user. Okay, so look, I got better electricity now. Look, I got better cell service. Look, there's sewage coming down the road. I can hook up to that, right? I can hook up to the sewage, and that would be more consistent, right? Look, that's what infrastructure is about. All right.